Yo. Hello everyone, welcome to the stream. Can everybody hear me and or see me? Well, I guess and see me, not and or. It would be best if you could do both. I think I need a I need a light. I need a light on this side to wash out the shadow of the microphone on my face. I don't think that looks very good. I'm still, you know, I make videos for a living and I still really have no idea how to do it. I'm like, I really haven't figured out lighting and things like that. I just know how to like write ideas down, all the like technical stuff. Not great. Anyway, how's everyone doing? And where is everyone at right now? What city and country are you chatting from today? I was gonna say this evening. It's almost 5 p.m. where I'm at, but it's likely a different time where you're at. So we got mood lighting is the only lighting you need. I do have some colorful lights, but I just was a little bit lazy and didn't set them up. Lighting was pretty good to me. I can see you and you're in focus. Isn't that all you need? I guess technically, but I still, you know, I have a level of, I want it to look good. Like, that doesn't matter that much, but it matters more than 0, put it that way. And also just for my own personal satisfaction, I just like it better when the stuff I make looks good. But the things that I would focus on, I think, are a lot of other people wouldn't focus on. So we got Myth from Illinois, Adrian from Miami, Pedro from Dalton, Georgia, Steel Cow from NYC, LB from Berlin, Squall from San Francisco. Got Lana from Detroit, Stewart, Yorktown, Virginia. Am I ever gonna color my dreads more? Possibly. The problem is people charge a lot of money to do that. And you know, it's something that I could like treat myself with one day, but it's just hard. Like I can find better things to spend my money on, I guess. I have a friend that maybe I could convince to do it for free or for very cheap, but I don't want to make someone work for free unless they're just like super down and willing to do it. Lainey from Central Arizona, JH from Sweden, almost midnight, Emily from Idaho, Andrew from Buffalo, Amy in Rhode Island. I always love just how so many people from so many different places. That's kind of one of the reasons why I ask this every stream. It's just very interesting to me and very cool. Bugaton from Aberdeen, Scotland, or is it Aberdeen? I'm sorry I can't donate money because YouTube won't accept my card. That's interesting. I mean, it's not a huge deal if you can't donate money, but if you really want to, I'm sure that we could figure something out. But it's not a huge deal. I remember you used to use pinkish red lighting a lot. Yeah, well, if you look at, I think my most recent video, I have the sort of purple and orange lighting in the background, although I don't think I'm going to use that anymore because it gives the videos a warm look, which I don't really like. I really prefer a cooler look. So like warm is like, you know, like red and pink and like light purple, the more reddish purples, orange, yellow, while cool is like blues and darker purples and greens. And I prefer the cooler look for my videos. So the reason I use that color is because kind of like my brand colors, if you look at like all my logos and channel art and stuff, it's all purple and orange because I just really like those colors. But I don't really like it for the videos themselves. The lighting, well, in here is just a regular white light in front of me. And I think that looks fine too. And because the light is white, it gives a cool look, which I like. The main problem that I have is this giant shadow on my face. I don't like it. And it's coming from the mic and the mic arm here. But the way that you, well, I mean, I could probably do something about that, like move this light that's casting a shadow. But another way to do it would be to put a light on this side so that it kind of washes out that shadow. But like moving the light kind of like causes shadow on half my face. Anyway, it's not that big a deal, but you know, when you make stuff for a living, you kind of have standards for the thing that you're making. Red seems to be one of your most major colors. I mean, I wear red a lot, I guess. I don't really use red in like my branding stuff. And I have red in my hair, but I like red. But my favorite colors are orange and purple, most likely. And so like my logo is orange and purple, my channel art is orange and purple. Look at if you look at my Twitter, it's orange and purple. My Patreon, orange and purple. Just the colors that I use. Mitra from Virginia. Or Mitra. How am I? I'm well, I'm doing pretty good. I basically have been spending this month spending last month, I should say, trying to get back into my routine. This happens like every year where I just get really into holiday mode and I kind of just don't feel like doing anything. And eventually I have to snap out of it so I can like, you know, continue to work and keep my life in order. So that's kind of what I've been doing. I think I'm like finally back on track here. Well, I shouldn't say that, but I'm like getting there. Do I see Biden running again? Yeah, if he's able to, I'm pretty sure he will. Most people do. But he's gonna be old as fuck, so it's hard to say. It used to work, but it just stopped working. The card. Yeah, I don't know. It's hard for me to give any advice on that without any like specific information. If you want to email me about it, we can try to figure something out. What's your favorite essay of the year? I don't really know. Do you mean like a political essay? I haven't watched a lot of politics stuff, to be honest. And a lot of the people that I would normally watch haven't been putting out videos. So I don't know. I've been watching a lot of other types of stuff. But I'm trying to think of an essay that I watched that I really liked of any genre. It's hard to remember. I watch so much YouTube. I don't know like how much YouTube y'all watch, but that's kind of like I always talk about on these streams how I don't really keep up with movies that much. I don't really keep up with TV shows that much. What I do is I watch YouTube. I watch an absurd amount of YouTube. So it's hard to keep up and remember all the stuff that I've watched. But yeah, I'm trying to remember even anything that I've watched recently. I can't think of anything. As far as essays go, I just watched a video essay on the channel Core A Gaming, which is mostly a channel about fighting games, but they talk about gaming in general as well. But they do like really good video essays, and they just did one called Why Video Games. I think it's called Why Video Games Are Still Not Considered Art, something like that. And it was pretty interesting. I don't know if it's like the best video essay of the year, but it was cool, as all their videos are. Breaks are always good. Now and then, nothing wrong with going out of routine to get things outside of here taken care of. Yeah, for sure. I agree with that 100%. But unfortunately, you do have to sort of get back on track eventually. And C, hello from Greenland. Hello to you. I think in 2024, it'll be Trump running against Biden trying to get back in. It's possible. I'm not sure. I'm not sure if the Republicans will pick Trump as the nominee again after he already lost. That'd be hard to see, but I don't know, maybe. Political media analysis. Yeah, I don't know. To be honest, I have not watched a lot of political stuff. Unless it just seemed really, really interesting. I mean, FD Signifier's Break Bread video, that was this year, right? Or was that in December? That was really good. I'm sure you know, like I said, it's hard for me to remember what I've even watched. There's like a place on YouTube where you can watch it, you can view your watch history in there. Okay, here it is. Oh yeah, I just watched a bunch of Dr. Mike videos. I literally like binged like 20 Dr. Mike videos. Good channel. Let me see if I can find the last political media analysis essay that I watched. Oh, I watched an old video. I watched a video as research for my next video, but that will kind of spoil the video, so I probably won't talk about that. And then I watched a bunch of Anthony Padilla videos because I like those as well. None of those are video essays though. Then I watched a bunch of Key and Peele videos. See, this is what I do on YouTube. And then I got a bunch of chess videos, a bunch of Street Fighter videos, a bunch of WWE videos. Like, I have not been watching politics stuff lately. Yeah, I don't know. And I would have to, if we're talking about for the whole year, I'd have to scroll for a while, to be honest. I watch my own video essays every now and then. Yeah, I don't know. How much math do you use in your everyday life? I mean, I use basic math all the time. I play D&D, and that requires a lot of addition and subtraction, so I use that like at least on a weekly basis. But you know, I cook a lot. You have to use math while cooking. As for like complex math like trigonometry and algebra, I rarely use that. But I have used it. I've used just kind of for my own edification. I was able to like estimate the height of a building by using the Pythagorean theorem. That was pretty cool. Do another YouTuber foreign man in a foreign land? Yes, I'm familiar. I have not watched a bunch of their videos, but I am familiar and I've heard good things. It seems like it might be right up my alley, actually. All right, I'm behind on the comments, so I might skip some of them so I can catch up. Feel free to ask again, and maybe I'll see it the second time. I read an article There's Trump supporters saying I want Trump policies without Trump, saying they still love Trump but want someone else to run in his place. I mean, I think the most of the problem with Trump is Trump. I mean, you know, I'm not generally in favor of conservative policy, and I think a lot of his policy was pretty disastrous, or at least a lot of his ideas for policy. But at least my biggest problem was him, the dude, the person. So that would be interesting. Can't imagine they don't pick him. I don't know, man. The Republicans are very good at finding their guy, and they're very good at dropping people when they're no longer the guy. And I don't think Trump is the guy anymore. Like, Trump still has like a sort of fringe group of loyal followers, but I don't know if he's like the guy in the Republican Party anymore. The stream is called Live Stream Sunday. I think I just rubbed my hair on the mic, my bad. The stream is called Live Stream Sunday, yet there's no ice cream. Awful clickbait. Well, I have eaten a sundae on stream before. One time. Another thing I notice about your videos, when you talk about what other groups go through, you talk about it in a way that you still try your best not to speak for them or over them. Well, yeah, I mean, I think that's important, at least from my perspective, because I mean, quite simply, if you don't live in the shoes of someone else, you can't really speak accurately about what it's like to be that person. And I've found myself either oversimplifying things or even saying things that are just wrong about other groups. You know, I was well-meaning and I was trying to, you know, be considerate and informational, but I just didn't have the perspective. I mean, I possibly could have did more research, but there's only so much research you can do without actually having the experience. So I always try to defer to letting people tell their own stories. I think there's like basic information that you can share about anything that, you know, is pretty easy to verify. But when it gets down to like specific nitty-gritty type of stuff, I think you should let people speak on their own behalf generally. Did I watch Jessie Jenner? Well, I have seen a couple of Jessie Jenner videos. I have not seen her video on the Matrix 4 though. It's interesting. It's interesting hearing people talk about the Matrix though, because I saw the Matrix. I'm like a huge people that have watched this channel for a while might know that I'm a huge fan of the Matrix franchise. Like, that's my shit. Like, I really like it. I'm a huge nerd about it. I always say that the Matrix is my, like, for what Star Wars was for people in the 70s and 80s, that's what the Matrix was for me. And I thought the Matrix 4 was pretty underwhelming or whatever, but I've heard a lot of people say that Matrix 4 is much more overtly a trans allegory than the other Matrix movies, which also are at least partly a trans allegory according to the people who made it. And so, you know, there may be a whole perspective of that I just am completely unaware of. So it's interesting hearing people talk about it. Am I Caribbean? I'm not Caribbean. My mom and her family is from Panama, which is arguably Caribbean. I mean, it's not an island, but it's, you know, it's right over there. It's near it. And then I have um I guess you could say ancestors, but as early as my great grandfather, and then the people before him are from Saint Lucia, which is an island in the Caribbean. But you know, I wasn't there. I recently found out you're a D&D head and Critical Role fan. Have you watched any of the Legend of Vox Machina yet? Yes, I've watched the first 3 episodes. Have they? I think that's all they've released, right? Have they released? When do the new episodes come out? I don't know, but I've watched the first 3 episodes. Yeah, I'm sure that Republicans still approve of him, but um, I don't like the Republican Party is not going to nominate him unless they are like quite confident that he could win, and they're quite confident that there isn't someone else better. Maybe by the time 2024 comes around, there will be no one else. I don't know. I mean, I doubt that, but you know. It's hard for me to think in terms of Republican politics because it's just completely opposite of how I think about anything. Um, like almost none of the people that they've nominated since I've been alive seemed like I wouldn't have picked them personally. Maybe like Mitt Romney is the only one that actually seems like a guy that looks like he could be the president. But like I wouldn't have picked George W. Bush. I wouldn't have picked John McCain. I definitely wouldn't have picked Trump. I like the new Matrix, but the fighting / action was underwhelming, and that was incredibly disappointing. Yeah, I mean, you know, the Matrix series is in large part like a martial arts movie, and the fact that Matrix 4 pretty much wasn't that, that it's a little bit, you know, it's a little bit disappointing, but you know, it's a different movie, I guess, a different kind of movie, so doesn't necessarily need to be beholden to what the other movies were like. Panama's further from the Caribbean than North Carolina. Is that true? I guess I could see that being true. Is that true? Well, it's hard to tell just by looking, but unless I'm confused about what what the Caribbean is. Wait, that's not what I was looking for. Go back. How do I go back? So North Carolina, can you see my cursor? Yeah. North Carolina's like right here. And I guess the tip of the Bahamas is like right there, right? And Panama's right here. So it's hard to tell just by looking. And all this is the Caribbean, right? Anyway, that's interesting. I just wanted to see if that was true. Anyway, it may be closer distance wise, but it's definitely not closer culturally. I can tell you that much. All right, I need to mute my Facebook. My bad about that. Next 4 episodes came out last night. Well, that's tight. You want to join the Discord? Go to the onejanitor.com/Discord. But yeah, I've only seen the first 3. Do we not trust Google Maps anymore? I mean, Google Maps is fine. I just literally just Googled North America map and just clicked the first thing I saw. Did I hear about Whoopi being suspended from The View? I did. Because she said something about Jewish people. Well, she said specifically that the Holocaust was not about race, which is like, what? I mean, I guess technically it's more of like an ethnicity than a race, but the concept of race is very muddy. But given the context of what she was saying, I don't know what the fuck she was talking about, because very clearly it was about race. On Panama and North Carolina, for sure, on the culture thing, I like bending people's minds on how far everything is from each other. Yeah, the way that that's definitely a really interesting thing for sure. And it's also interesting to think about the differences between what the Earth actually looks like compared to what it looks like on a map. Like, for example, how how close, you know, Russia and Alaska are together, for example, which it's hard to tell by looking at a map. Earth is big and wonky for sure. I'm trying to take a long tolerance break from weed to get really high again. Last time I thought I was in the Matrix. I mean, weed will do some things to your mind. Don't get me wrong. Another thing about like the map is it undersells how huge Africa is. Like you can really tell on a globe more so than a map. But like the way that we project maps most of the time makes Africa look a lot smaller than it actually is. Some people think that that is done on purpose, but I think it's just because of the way we project the map. But maybe we chose that way to project the map because it de-emphasizes Africa. I'm not sure. So like, hold on. So like if you look like if you look at like this, holy crap, dude. I don't want to buy your map, man. I can't see my damn computer. Can this zoom out? Jesus. Honestly, this one isn't even that bad because, you know, Africa looks pretty big here, but some maps have Africa like looking really small. Like this thing maybe. I don't even know if this one is like to scale really. But then sometimes they have maps where like things are stretched out to be more accurate. Like this one here. And you can really see how huge Africa it really is with different projections of the map. But yeah. Palin taught you how close Russia is from Alaska. She can see it from my house. I mean, she probably can. I don't know why that's such a meme. That is like the least unintelligent thing that Sarah Palin has said. Jews are an ethno-religious group. However, forms of anti-Semitism are a form of racism when the anti-Semite is working from the idea that Jews are a race. Yeah, I mean, that's the thing about the terms like racism is when they're applied, they're kind of applied based on the context, you know? It's kind of like the term homophobia. Like when we say homophobia, we don't literally mean, usually we don't literally mean that people are afraid of homosexuals. I mean, there is a fear that's part of it. Like people do have kind of a fear of like themselves being gay or people they love being gay, but we apply it based on the context. So sometimes it may refer to that, but oftentimes it just means discrimination or hatred or whatever. The Mercator projection is just terrible at showing where stuff is. It's also a good allegory for inequality. Africa being so small relative. Oh yeah, I was talking about that. I think we need to use globes more than maps. Yeah, but you know, maps are convenient for sure. I do want to get like a globe. Like when I moved into my apartment, I was looking online for like a nice globe, just you know, just as almost as decoration, but also just for my edification, where I can just look at stuff when I want to. Like at my old apartment, I had a world map on the wall, which I really liked having. But globes are expensive. Like nice globes, they're actually really expensive, which I didn't expect. I thought they may be like $50 maybe. Nah, they're like hundreds of dollars to get like a nice one. You can get like some like inflatable globe or something for like 20 bucks, but no, I want like a nice sturdy globe. My daughter got married in St. Lucia. The reason I know this actually is because in high school we had to do a project where we researched our ancestry. And so, you know, I was asking a lot of my family members, my mom, my aunts, and things like that. And also like doing more research, looking up stuff. And I actually learned quite a bit, at least about my mom's side. Like my ancestors were slaves on a plantation or whatever it was called in St. Lucia. And I believe that the name that my family has is the name of the person that owned the plantation. I think the Mercator projection wasn't chosen to make Africa look small. I would imagine it makes more sense that it was chosen to make Europe look comparatively big. Yeah, that makes sense too. I guess I'm like really behind. There must be like a big delay on the chat. But that's okay. But yeah, you know, if you get a different projection, you can see just how tiny Europe is compared to Africa. I mean, Europe is the smallest continent, isn't it? It's smaller than Australia, or is Australia smaller? Actually, because Europe, you know, aren't parts of Russia in Europe? I'm not Jewish, so I can't speak for the Jewish people, but I think the outrage towards Whoopi was because what she said sounded like the Jews weren't targeted because of being Jewish. Yeah, I mean, I think that is what she was saying. I have not watched FD Signifier's latest video yet. I haven't been like I was saying earlier, when it comes to like political stuff, I haven't been like really like keeping up as much, and I just kind of watch it at my own pace. Like there was a time where I would just like be on top of every single, you know, every single essay, but now I just watch it at my own pace, especially now that everyone has decided that they're gonna make 2-hour-long videos. Like that's like the norm now in the sort of political video essay stuff. And it's like, man, I got shit to do. I can't sit here and watch your fucking 1 hour 45-minute video. Like good on you, especially if you get people to watch that shit and you get a lot of views. That's cool, but I mean, That's a huge chunk of my day, man. Africa has to be the biggest continent, right? Asia's pretty big, but Africa's humongous. Yeah, you know, when I say continent, I'm just speaking our general what we've been taught about the continents. But you know, there's no really good definition for what a continent is. Because I mean, technically, Africa, Europe, and Asia are all connected to each other. So maybe that's one big continent. Australia is a country and a continent, which is pretty unique. North and South America are technically connected to each other. There is an option, I keep forgetting to do it. There's an option to lower the delay at the cost of a little bit of video quality, but I think that my internet is probably good enough to where it won't be that big of a deal. But I keep forgetting to turn it on when I start the stream. And in order for me to turn it on, I would have to end the stream and restart it because YouTube is weird. They haven't really figured out how to host the stream on the same page like Twitch does. So if I end the stream, you would all have to like re-find it on a different page, which is really dumb. So I'm not going to do that. Well, the people who are watching on YouTube would have to do that. I am also streaming on Twitch, but most people who are watching on YouTube right now. But shout outs to people that are watching on Twitch. I got 3 viewers on Twitch. Twitch is so wild. Like, it is really hard to get people to watch you on Twitch. But, you know, might as well give people an option. Twitch is easily the superior streaming platform. But I just happen to have most of my audience on YouTube, so. Well, Twitch is the superior platform from a technical aspect, from the actual app, the actual options you have there. From like a creator trying to, you know, have a fulfilling hobby or start a business, it is probably the worst. Oh my god, you're so right. I've been putting off a couple of videos I really like because there's epically long. Yeah, I don't know. I'm glad people agree with me because, listen, honestly, I feel like I might get more views if my videos were longer because it seems like that's what's in right now. But I can't do it. And I have high respect for people that can make these really long videos and do it frequently. Like, sometimes I try to make the excuse that was like, oh, I make videos more often than these people, so that's why I can't do it. Because, you know, like, some people, like, you know, like H Bomber Guy releases a video like once every 4 months, and these days they're usually like an hour and a half to 2 hours long. But then you have people like Jose, which is another great channel if you haven't seen it. He puts out videos at least once a month, if not more, and they're always like an hour to 2 hours long. Not always, but usually. So I can't even use that as an excuse because that's how frequently I put out videos. But I don't know, I just at this point I can't do it. You know, maybe when I have more grandiose ideas and more like help, like, you know, if I had more like help with like production, maybe I could do that. But I don't know. Asia is a tiny bit larger than Africa. Okay. So Australia is smaller than Europe. Even though the quality says 720, 60, 720p 60 looks to be 30. It should be 50. So maybe it doesn't look like 60, but it should look like better than 30. The reason it's 50 is because I bought a I don't know how to describe it, but I brought a PAL or European version of the camera that I'm using because I just found it at cheaper, so I bought the I don't know what the term is it. I know, like in video games, it's the PAL version, but I don't know if that is how they say it about cameras. So I have, what the fuck is it called? It's like the Canon. They have different names in different regions. But so in America, it's a Canon SL3. But I bought the Canon, what is it? The Canon 250D? Yeah, Canon 250D. That's what it's called in Europe. But anyway, if you didn't know, in America we do 24 frames a second and 60 frames a second, and in Europe and probably some other places they do 50 frames per second and 25 frames per second or something like that. I think that's close. That's like 90% right. I can't remember. So the settings say that it's 50 frames per second. I am not sure what it actually is on the screen. Yeah, Twitch is very impossible these days. It's like pretty impossible to succeed on Twitch without gaining engagement somewhere else as well. How is Nier Automata? Game's good. I'm still kind of playing it slowly by like bit by bit. But I will probably stream more of it if anybody is interested in watching me play Nier. Longer videos allow for more exploration. Philosophy 2 videos are great, but they feel surface level compared to other channels because the ideas aren't as explored. Well, yeah, that's obviously the benefit of it. But it's just a big time investment. So on my channel, I have basically embraced that my videos are surface level. That's like that's the point of them. They're just kind of to get the conversation started, and if you want more info, you can then, you know, go look it up yourself. And I've kind of embraced that as a function of my channel. But yeah, I get that, you know, more exploration. But when you do this as a living, I don't see how you just. I cannot put what is essentially a short film out every month. That's so much work. And like I said, I have a deep admiration for the people that do it. Because I really can't see myself doing it unless I have more help with production. PAL and NTSC are TV formats. They have no influence on digital cameras. Okay. Um, 24 is like the standard for movies, 30 is the standard for many TV shows, and 60 is the standard for video games live broadcast. Yeah, in America and Japan. Or maybe just America. Like I said, I don't fucking know. Like, I talked about this at the beginning of the stream. I do video for a living, and I still really don't. I really have no idea what I'm doing. I just like I said, the thing that I think that I'm good at is writing and coming up with ideas. All the technical camera lighting stuff, I am really just winging it. I have learned some things over time, but I think I should know more than I do for how long I've been doing this. The thing with movies and TV shows, they look better because of being 24 or 30 FPS. I mostly like 60 F. Yeah, I agree. In my videos, my main videos on my channel are usually in 24 frames per second because I think it looks better. But for streams, I do 50 or 60 if possible. And especially if you do gaming streams, it's pretty much like not unwatchable, but it's a really poor experience if you're playing a video game at anything under 60 frames a second. Do you think many people, rather than do their own research, just go off someone else's opinion and base their opinion completely on someone else's? Yes, I think that is probably more common than people doing their own research. Because it's easier. And listen, obviously, if you can, you should always look into things yourself and not just kind of blindly agree with people. But I think people can earn your trust. And I don't think there's nothing wrong with that. Like for me, for example, if Hank Green writes something on Twitter or says something on TikTok or something, I give him the benefit of the doubt that he's probably right. Now, if it came down to it, if it was like a really important situation where I needed to make sure that it was right, I would look it up. But if I hear a fact from Hank Green, I'm probably gonna believe it, just because he has earned my trust, because he's usually right, and he usually doesn't like outwardly say things that are wrong from what I've seen. So I think it's possible for people to earn your trust. But the problem is, I think sometimes people have sort of an unearned authority. People will trust someone just because they say things that make them feel good or that validate them, rather than because they say things that are proven to be true. And that can be kind of an issue, I think. But I understand that people do that, and that's why I think it's really important as a person with, you know, any size platform. I think it's important to be mindful of the things that you say, because sometimes people will take it to heart and believe it without doing their own research. Hey T1J, I'd like to know your opinion on blackwash, whitewash. That is very interesting that you asked that, because I have a video planned about that. Keep an eye out. What's the beef with Philosophy Tube? I just got here. Oh, we were just kind of debating the merits of long video essays versus shorter video essays. So there are people that do like really long essays, like 1.5 to 2 hours. And then there are people who do on the shorter end, maybe like 30 minutes, 45 minutes, or even shorter. Like mine are usually like 15 to 20 minutes. And I think Philosophy Tube usually is on the shorter end, at least compared to, if you compare those two options. For some people, 15 minutes is a long video, but depends. In the video essay space, or at least in the political and social video essay space, 15 minutes is pretty short. Like Trump, for example, he made people feel good. Well, yeah, I think that is kind of the main strategy of Republicans is they are very good at creating narratives that confirm people's biases. And I think that's like kind of how Republicans thrive. But at the end of the day, if you can research something, if you have the energy and desire to do it and time, I would say it's probably never a bad thing to do. In my videos, usually whenever I make a sort of like factual claim or a claim of fact, like if I claim that something is factually true, I would usually put a source. I usually provide a source for it. And if not, my email is always open for people who want more clarification or sources or anything like that. I try not to just like claim things. Sometimes I will claim things that are not like 100% proven to be true, but might be true, or there's evidence that suggests it might be true. And if so, I will say as much. Like, I'm not super, like, I don't really consider myself, I can't speak for other creators, but I don't really consider myself just like some kind of thought leader that people should trust and, base their opinions on. I just feel like I'm just another person in the conversation. I just happen to have, slightly larger platform than most people do. So I'm able to like start conversations more than the average person, but I'm just another voice in the conversation, really. What's my take on the Microsoft Activision buyout? Well, generally I get a little bit wary when, these huge companies are just kind of expanding their empires. It just seems like it's not a great thing. But, Blizzard Activision is a company that just seemed like it was just completely fucked up from the ground up, and it just had no future without some major changes. And also Blizzard Activision makes a lot of stuff that I like, a lot of games that I like, and it would be cool if they could get their shit together so that they can continue making stuff that I like. And it seems like the new situation with Microsoft is already starting to have that effect. So I don't know. I think that the company just needed changing, and I think that is going to be good for them. But as for one company just becoming more and more powerful is usually not a great thing. So I don't know. It's a double-edged sword. Remember when YouTube videos couldn't be longer than 10 minutes? I do remember that. Those were the days. I remember when they lifted that restriction. It was like a great day. Opened up a whole new world. I can't remember. I think there's still a limit, but the limit is something like 10 days or something. Like, it's something crazy. I saw a video not too long ago that was over a day long. And I was just like, I wonder how long it took them to edit and render this video. I watched all 9 parts of those Red Letter Media videos, yeah. When will Keenan leave SNL? Who knows? He seems pretty comfortable in that job. Didn't he get a sitcom? Is that still a thing, or did it get canceled already? Did it ever come out? Yeah, it's called Keenan. Oh, it's still on. Wait. I think it's still on. Yeah. Okay. I don't know. So maybe if this sitcom gets really popular, maybe he'll retire and start working on that, start focusing on that. Learning the basics of how to read an academic article is hugely valuable for doing your own research. Yeah, I mean, reading academic articles, I feel like is not required for most people. Like, you can read a news article that references the academic paper and usually get the gist of it. You do, like when it comes to media, news media, I always suggest reading several sources about the same subject, because you'll occasionally find slight biases that kind of like that either share information in a skewed way or they leave out pertinent information sometimes. So I would read different versions of it to make sure you get all the context. But I don't think any person really needs to sit down and read an academic paper. That shit is dense and wordy and long. Like, you don't have to do that with your life if it's not your job. Yeah, Microsoft bought Bethesda. Any thoughts on the recent financial troubles surrounding BLM and the distinction between BLM and the movement and BLM the organization? Well, I don't know that much about BLM the organization. I don't really follow them that much. I don't know about the financial trouble. The only thing about the movement versus the organization is the organization, like I said, I don't follow them. Maybe this has changed, but the organization seems to have like very specific sort of tenets and goals and stuff, which is fine. But those tenets and goals may not line up specifically with every single person in the world who considers himself a part of the Black Lives Matter movement. And I think that it could be conflated as such. So I think that's kind of the only issue I have there. Favorite fruit: pears and pineapples. I tried to watch the 10-hour version of Troll. That's funny. Dimension 20 will post their game sessions in a pack sometimes in videos like 14 hours. Yeah. Usually with long videos like that, I like put them on when I'm trying to fall asleep or something. Like I'll watch like, so I really, speaking of Blizzard, I really like Overwatch. I think the game's fun. I think it has an awful community, but the game itself is really fun to me. And I watch a lot of Overwatch related content, and people will just upload their game sessions. A lot of times it's a stream session, but they'll just play like, it'll be like, oh, I'm gonna make a new account and I'm gonna climb from unranked to Grandmaster or top 500, and I'm just gonna record the whole thing. You can just watch it, and it'll be like 8 hours, depending on how good the person is. Like the really good people can do it in like 3 hours or 4 or 5 hours, but then some people will take 10 hours, 15 hours, and I'll just put that on, watch like the first few games, and then fall asleep. Sitcoms don't pop off anymore. I doubt it. Yeah, I guess so. Like I said, I don't watch TV that much anymore, so I have no idea what's going on there. They keep making sitcoms, so I assume that they're like profitable at least, or at least have the potential to be profitable. I think as far as the BLM movement itself, the movement itself has been going since way before the organization / hashtag started, just the in general demand for justice for black people. Yeah, and that's the thing. Where is the line between black activism in general and the Black Lives Matter movement specifically? Are those two things synonymous? I don't know. I'm not sure. I fuck up pineapples. Pineapples are so good, man. I really like grapes too. I like green grapes, but red grapes are good too. But I really love grapes. They taste like candy. Yeah, academic papers and stuff like that. You kind of have to read them slow. Because I feel like they're unintentionally wordy, and we've talked on the stream before about how sometimes I think that it's intentionally dense and esoteric because you know, and it's kind of like an elitist thing where it's like they want to sound smart, and there's like only smart people can really understand what we're doing. I fall asleep at D&D all the time. I can only do that if it's something I've already seen before, because I don't want to miss it or wake up to a spoiler. So it has to be either something I don't care that much about or that I've already seen. Many have boycotted Blizzard because of the sexual harassment allegations. I still play Overwatch, but many are still mentally turned off. Well, yeah, I agree. But there are so many. It's not like everyone who works at Blizzard was going around harassing people. Like, there were definitely some key individuals, and there's definitely a certain culture there. But I don't know if we need to punish like every single developer and artist and everyone that works there because, you know, of the actions of a few people. Especially when you start to hear the testimonials of people that work there or used to work there. But yeah, Blizzard, the company, is no stranger to controversy. Like, they've been dealing with shit for years. It was obviously a poorly managed company, and you even saw that their games suffered because of it. All their games, pretty much everyone constantly criticized because it seemed like the developers didn't give a shit or didn't try to fix the problems. And, you know, I think that is just evidence of the fact that the company was just poorly mismanaged and there was just too much behind the scenes chaos and drama. And that's why I hope that Microsoft buying them will fix a lot of that. That's why it's kind of a double-edged sword, because, you know, does Microsoft need more power and money? Probably not, but, you know, that will probably result in a little more organization and you know, competence at Blizzard Activision. So I think they're intentionally boring and dense to make it inaccessible. It's awful. It depends on the context, but they're unsuccessfully wordy. Yeah, I mean, a lot of the time when I'm reading that stuff, and I read them a lot for my videos, so I've seen it a lot. It's like, you could have said that in fewer words. Like 100% you could have. Did I watch the new Matrix movie? Did I like it? I did watch the Matrix movie. I thought it was okay. I think it's the worst of the 4 Matrix movies. It's just like, it's very like meta, and it comments on the fact that there doesn't need to be a 4th Matrix movie, almost as like this kind of like cheeky fourth wall break. But it's like, just because you make a joke about not needing to exist doesn't change the fact that you don't need to exist. But apparently, you know, there was some pressure from the studios for the Wachowskis to make another Matrix movie, and apparently they want them to make more Matrix movies. And so if they're being pressured to make these movies, that kind of sucks. I'm always down for lore expansion, so from that aspect, I'm fine with it. I love more lore. And the Matrix is very lore heavy, obviously, so I'm down with that. I love a lot of the new characters. I think the plot of the movie is weird. Like the movie kind of has no stakes, really. I'm trying to avoid spoiling it. But yeah, I don't know. It's like a 6 out of 10, something like that. Game ass? I don't even know what that is. What is that? There's already some positive potential for Blizzard. Like, we've already seen, I don't know if it's a coincidence, but as soon as Microsoft bought Blizzard, there was a patch in Overwatch that was actually a pretty cool patch that like shook up the game and made it a little more fun and kind of buffed some characters that needed buffs. I don't know if this is like catching up with old people becoming members, but if any of that is current, thank you for supporting the channel. Thank you for becoming a homie. And also there's excitement for the next World of Warcraft expansion. I'm not sure if there was a patch in WoW. I haven't played WoW in a minute, but I always come back to WoW. It's another game that I really like. So people are excited, so we'll see what happens. Oh, Game Pass. I promise I wasn't trolling. I did not know what you were talking about. But I can't even remember how Game Pass really works. Are we in a simulation? I mean, probably not, but even if we are, I feel like it doesn't matter. Like, we still have to live our lives as if our choices matter. I knew a person that very, very seriously and unironically got into fits of anxiety where they like really had panic attacks about the fact that we might be in a simulation. Loving a paladin in WoW Classic is pain. I don't know if I'm in the, I mean, I guess I'm in the minority here, but I can't deal with WoW Classic. I don't understand why people like prefer to play a more frustrating version of the game. I mean, I guess people like that. People play like Dark Souls and shit, so I guess people like that kind of stuff. I am interested in trying out when Wrath of the Lich King comes out, because I have very, very fond memories. In fact, that is when I started playing WoW, And maybe that's why WoW Classic isn't that cool to me, because I didn't start in Classic, in vanilla. But I feel like it's like we're taking a step backwards, but I don't know. What, you know, whatever. Game Pass is basically gaming Netflix. You pay a subscription and get to play like 150 games. That sounds like a cool deal. Can you play them unlimited? And how much is a subscription? Because I feel like even if they charge a decently high amount of money, it would still be worth it. Is the Matrix falling victim to movie studios looking for the next big continuous universe like the Marvel Cinematic Universe? Now, I think that's a possibility. I would hope that no studio at this point really believes that they can catch up with MCU at this point. Like, you're not going to pump out 25 movies. Like, I mean, maybe they're thinking long term, but I feel like most companies rarely think that long term in terms of like profit. At least they just want to get the quick buck as soon as possible. But they do know that nostalgia is bankable, and as long as they can keep finding ways to bank that, they'll probably do it. And even if you're like the Wachowskis, like I can see if you're like a creative person and you don't want to make things that are no longer creatively fulfilling to you. But if you're a human being who lives in this society and you've got a family and all kinds of shit like that, and someone's like, all right, we're gonna give you like $50 million, can you make this movie? Well, it would be a lot more than that to make a movie, but like, you personally, we're gonna pay you like tens of millions of dollars, can you make this movie for us? It's gonna be real hard to say no, you know, especially when you're a skilled filmmaker and you know how to make a movie. It's easy for you at this point. That's a pretty easy paycheck, you know. Am I interested in Brazilian history as a point of comparison to the US? Our invasion process is really different, but also similar. I'm definitely interested, but I definitely don't know anything about it. I think I'm gonna do maybe either a series of videos, or maybe I'll do it on stream where I just like study politics and history in other countries, because that's something I've been meaning to do for a while, and I'm very ignorant of politics in other countries. I need to shave. I hate, like, some people have like a lot of facial hair, really big mustaches. I hate thick mustaches. It's super uncomfortable to me. Like, I hate when my mustache goes up into my nose or like curls over my lip. It's so annoying to me. And it's starting to do that now. I'm probably gonna trim it as soon as I finish the stream. You can play unlimited and it's $15. They have shit like Halo Infinite Day 1. It's pretty good, but since Microsoft has been buying smaller studios, or I guess studios, I've heard concerns about a monopoly. Yeah, I mean, that's always the concern, but that does sound like an amazing deal. You know, especially if they have games that people want to play. Like, sometimes I'll buy like game bundles just because it's a good deal and not because I specifically want to play most of the games. I have like hundreds of games on Steam that I've never played before, that because I just bought like a bunch of bundles. The thing with nostalgia is more so based on how we remember it and the experiences we had with it a long time ago, rather than the actual quality of the media itself or how we enjoy it now. That's true, but the thing is, all you have to do is make something now that is up to par with what we would expect now. And all you have to do is reference the nostalgia. Like a good example is Final Fantasy VII Remake. Like Final Fantasy VII, to me that's one of the greatest games of all time, but going back and playing it, there's a lot of like things that are outdated. The graphics look like shit. I'm not saying it doesn't hold up, but if you want to play an RPG in the modern day, they've just advanced the genre so much. There's no reason to go back and play that game. However, now we have Final Fantasy VII Remake, which is amazing. I feel like it's objectively a better game than the original Final Fantasy VII. So all they had to do was reference the nostalgia and just make a brand new game. Especially if you know that WB will just give your baby to someone else if you don't make the movie. That's also true. That's one interesting thing about traditional media in general, but specifically film and TV. I guess music as well. But just traditional media. And this is something that I think about a lot as a content creator, because I own everything I make. And it would be unthinkable of me for someone else to own what I make. Like I can't even comprehend that. But that's commonplace in traditional media. And it's interesting to think about. Like you can make something like The Matrix is synonymous with the Wachowskis. Like that's their creation, but presumably they don't own it. I don't know for sure, but I'm pretty sure they don't own it. It seems like they've been given pretty much creative control over the whole thing, which is good, but we've seen bad examples of this. Like one that comes to mind is the Child's Play franchise, the Chucky franchise. They just made a Child's Play reboot with no involvement from the creator of it. They just did it because they could. And it's not even that the reboot was bad. It's just like, why make this? I'm just hoping Microsoft doesn't monopolize to the point of taking out Sony, Nintendo, or other big companies outright. I mean, that's hard to imagine, but you never know what can happen. We might see some shit like 5-10 years from now where it's like Microsoft and Sony merge, or Microsoft, it's like, why? It's hard to imagine that happening with Nintendo. Nintendo is a very like internal company that is very like hostile to changes or to things that go against their sort of company culture, but you never know what can happen. Tried to play Final Fantasy VII like 3 years back and I just couldn't. I get that it's old, but for me it's too much. Yeah, it's been a minute since I've tried to play it again. But, especially like I think PS2 and beyond, most of those games are still playable. But when you start going like PS1 and before, that's when you start to, a lot of those games are just unplayable these days. It's just too dated. Some of them hold up, but a lot of them don't. But I play my PS2 not all the time, but you know, once every couple months, and most of the games are still fun. Like GTA San Andreas is still fun, you know. I have this game called Sphinx. You ever played that on PS2? It's super good. It kind of reminds me of Zelda. It's like in the vein of Zelda, where you kind of like solve puzzles and collect items and stuff. Really good game. Still fun. All the old Lego games on PS2. I have Lego Indiana Jones on PS2. The game is amazing. But a lot of the PS1 games, like I tried to play Soul Reaver. That game is unplayable. I remember loving that game when I was a kid. It's like, man, it's like 10 FPS game. It's like unwatchable, unplayable. Fighting games hold up over time. A lot of them do, actually, now that I think about it. Because there are a lot of really good fighting games, even like from like SNES days. There's a lot of fighting games that are really fun. I think that's because fighting games were so arcade based rather than console based. So, you know, I think they were kind of designed to last multiple eras, multiple generations. I loved Sphinx. I'm glad somebody knows what I'm talking about. A lot of people have never heard of that game. Yeah, the Lego games are always good. They really, I don't know, they really knew what they were doing with those games. I mean, it's not, I think they just found a really good formula, because it's just a platformer, and give them some weapons and special moves and you're cool. Like, I think it's kind of hard to mess up a game where all you do is jump on stuff and fight enemies. Like, that's always going to be fun. Obviously, there's different presentations of that concept. And obviously you want the controls to be good, things like that. There's like, you know, technical things to take care of, but overall, you know, just make a decent game. First 2/3 of Mario 64. I used to get into it with my friends back in the day because I was never a fan of Mario 64. I just did not like it. It was like, I felt like the game was hard to control. I was always falling off of stuff and accidentally running into stuff. And I get it. It was like the first open world 3D game ever. I understand. They had to work out some kinks. But, you know, a lot of people talk about the game like it's, you know, one of the greatest of all time. And it's like, I don't know, man. They were still figuring out. By the time they got some later 3D Mario games, they kind of figured it out. Especially nowadays. Super Mario Odyssey is like one of the best games I've ever played. Do I play a lot of old and new games? Which ones do I play? Honestly, like, when I was growing up, I was like a really big gamer. That's all I did, really. It's kind of all I wanted to do was play video games. I'm like less of a gamer now, which it's weird. It's kind of sad to me because I feel like I've lost a part of my identity. I mean, I still play games, but it's not like as big of a deal to me. And I don't really keep up with new games or anything. I play, like, I'm very slowly going through Nier Automata right now. But honestly, the only reason I started playing it is because I wanted to stream it. Like, I just wanted to do it for content. Like, I probably wouldn't have done it on my own time. The games that I do play on my own time are competitive games. Like, I love fighting games. I've been playing a lot of Street Fighter. I really like Street Fighter 5. And I pretty much jumped from fighting game to fighting game. So I played a lot of Guilty Gear Strive. I haven't played it in a few months, but I played a lot of that. I played a lot of Dragon Ball Fighters. I played a lot of Tekken 7. I really like fighting games. I also play, or I like I said earlier, I like Overwatch. And I just recently started playing League of Legends again. I took maybe like a year break from the game, but I'm back. I think I always come back at the beginning of the new season because I just want to like hit my ranked goal and then I just like stop playing. So the games that I normally play are competitive games. Every now and then I will find a one-player game that I actually want to play. But it's just sad because when I was a kid, that's all I wanted to do is play games. I play so many games. And I just don't have the same desire anymore. Games don't need graphics, they need good aesthetics. Celeste and RimWorld being an amazing example of this. Oh, absolutely. I think the sort of revolution of indie gaming over the past few years, or past decade even, has really proved that you can still make a great game even if it doesn't have amazing graphics. And there's endless examples of that. Yeah, Super Mario Sunshine is pretty good. Have I played Psychonauts on PS2? I played a little bit of it. I have Psychonauts on Steam right now, and I've only played a little bit of it. I should play it though. In my humble opinion, Automata is extremely overrated, but the atmosphere and music is pretty good. The music is amazing so far. I'm still at the beginning. I just think the game is really fun to play. I already have a few complaints about the game, and I'm, basically what I'm waiting for is I think the story is probably going to be really good, and I think that's why people like it so much. The gameplay seems pretty standard. Like you just run around doing combos and shit. It's like Devil May Cry except less complex. So, so far I'm not thinking GOAT game like a lot of people play, but it's definitely fun. It's definitely very fun. Is any Mortal Kombat on your fighting games list? Not recently. I actually have been strongly considering getting Mortal Kombat 11, but I just haven't. The last Mortal Kombat that I played a lot was Mortal Kombat 9. But yeah, for some reason that one has eluded me because I've just been playing all these other fighting games. But I don't have anything against Mortal Kombat per se. I think I just kind of prefer because Mortal Kombat has kind of a slightly different fighting system than the other games. Like, I kind of think of it as a Western fighting game while the others are Japanese fighting games. But I'm sure I'll pick it up. When is MK12 supposed to come out? Has that even been announced? Probably has, right? I guess it hasn't been announced. Apparently there's been like a leak or something, but it's not confirmed. I do like to, I have a friend who plays a lot of video games, and I would like to go over his house and watch him play games. That's fun. Like, I watched my friend play through like Resident Evil 8 and Ghost of Tsushima and Sekiro and games like that. Games that I know that I would never play through. But yeah, it's a little sad. You know, I kind of lost a part of myself because I used to be a huge gamer. That's, I mean, it was one of those things. It's a little bit of a meme, but like, you know, kids, when I was a kid, at least, we used to like go outside and play, and we would like beg our moms to go outside and play. It's like, can I go, you know, can we go play kickball with our friends outside? But then by the time maybe around like 12 years old, and especially when I became a teenager, my mom literally would come in my room and be like, turn off the game and go play outside. Like she had to like force me to go outside because I would just play the game all day. Anyone like RTS games? I actually like RTS games. I'm terrible at them though. What's up, B3R? Am I ready for the new Batman movie coming out? Sure. I mean, I'll check it out. I'm not like super excited for it because there is a distinct lack of good DC movies, so I don't really have high expectations, but we'll see what happens. What's the difference between Western and Japanese fighting games? I mean, I'm kind of, it's kind of a bad distinction because even like I mentioned Street Fighter, Guilty Gear, and Dragon Ball Fighters, and those games are very different from each other, but they all kind of have the same general concept of how they are played. And a lot of that does carry over to a game like Mortal Kombat. But for one, Western fighting games are like more realistic, kind of like they're less about like people throwing fireballs and shit like that. They're more about like hand-to-hand combat and weapon combat usually. Obviously there's exceptions to that. Mortal Kombat has a block button, which is weird. Most Japanese fighting games, the way you block is by holding back on the control stick, but in Mortal Kombat you have to actually press and hold a button to block. At least that's how it used to be. I haven't played Mortal Kombat 10 or 11, so correct me if I'm wrong about that, but every Mortal Kombat game before that was like that. Like especially in terms of more realism, like in Mortal Kombat. So in fighting games, your attacks have a hitbox, and that's like the size of the box that has to intersect with the enemy character in order for a hit to be registered. In Mortal Kombat, and you know, probably a lot of games in that realm, the size of the hitbox is equal to the size of it's the size that it looks on the screen, basically. So if you hit someone with your fist, the size of the hitbox is the size of the character's fist. But in other 2D games like Street Fighter, Dragon Ball, Guilty Gear, the size of the hitbox is completely up to the whim of the developer. And that's part of how the characters are balanced, for example. So like, for example, in Street Fighter, I play Sakura, and she has this move which looks just like a very normal kick. It's just like you press light kick and she does this with her foot. But the hitbox on the move is so big. It's so much bigger than it looks like it should be. But that's just one of the tools that they gave that character to make her playable, to make her good. So that's just another difference. Stuff like that. But honestly, I shouldn't say Western versus Japanese because there's too many examples of each that are a lot different from each other. Like Street Fighter is kind of a slower paced, simple game that's all about spacing and zoning and stuff like that, while Guilty Gear is it has that, but it also has like you can block in the air and you can dash in the air and you can double jump and you can cancel your moves. Like you can't do all that stuff in Street Fighter, so it's a completely different experience. Dragon Ball, you have 3 characters on your team, so that completely changes the dynamic, and you can call in characters to come and help you during the match. Like, so they're all different. I shouldn't group them all together like that, but you know what I mean. But yeah, I didn't mean to talk that much about it, but that's basically what I'm talking about. But yeah, the real-time strategy games, I'm so bad at them. I don't really understand. I don't think my hands are fast enough, or maybe I just don't understand what I'm supposed to be doing. Because I'll like play against the computer and play like on the easiest difficulty and still get wrecked. I remember I used to play Warcraft 3 with my buddy a long time ago, and he would just destroy me every time. I remember playing Age of Empires back in the day as well. I also had this RTS on PC called Vikings. Does anybody remember this? But RTSs are something that I would love to be good at. I think that would be cool. Honestly, I would love to be good at everything. That's one of the reasons why I play competitive games, because I like being good at stuff. I like to learn how to be good. And I like beating people at games. I'm a very competitive person, so that's why I like gravitate towards competitive games, because I kind of like that. I have the strong spirit of competition. But the problem is, it's hard to get good at games. it generally requires, if the game is like has any depth whatsoever, it requires kind of a lot of practice and honestly research, because a lot of games are pretty poor at teaching you how you're supposed to play the game, especially fighting games. Fighting games are notorious for that, and even MOBAs are like that too. Like, it's really hard to know how you're supposed to play the game, because often the correct way to play is not intuitive. What's up, JMB? Did I already say what's up to you? I can't remember. Anyway, good to see you. Probably only gonna stream for a little while longer. I just noticed how long I've been streaming. It's been kind of I feel like I've been talking more than usual on the stream, but that's fine. Makes the time go by when you talk a lot. I guess that's how the pro streamers are able to stream for 8-10 hours a day. They just keep talking. Thanks for explanations. I love hearing in-depth knowledge from people who are passionate about something, even if I don't have vested interests myself. Yeah, I do too. I actually like that as well. And yeah, I could talk about fighting games all day long. There's like a few things that I could talk about all day long. Fighting games, MCU stuff, YouTube, The Matrix. Competitive games have a meta to them, which is completely separate from what the devs built into the game. Absolutely. I mean, I think all games have a meta to them, but the meta, depending on the game, the meta can be more deep than other games. But yeah, that's kind of the cool thing about competitive games. That's what I was talking about, because sometimes the game, the meta game, the best way to play the game, which is basically what the meta is not intuitive. And kind of the only way to learn it is either to look it up or to sort of theory craft it with a community. Is like actually sit around with other people and discuss it and talk about it. It's hard to learn it just by playing the game. And it's even harder in team-based competitive games because there's so many variables that you can't control in the way of actual other players. And that's one of the reasons why a lot of people sort of get stuck in games like that, because it is very easy to blame your teammates rather than yourself. So you just never really change the way you play because you think that you're being held back by your teammates. Who's your favorite Mortal Kombat ninja? Mine is Noob Saibot. My favorite Mortal Kombat ninja. I mean, I feel like Scorpion is a cliche answer, but he's probably the coolest one, in my opinion. I mean, he's got a harpoon or a whatever you call it. That's pretty dope. Like, that was a pretty dope fighting game idea. So give this character a fucking hook. You can just bring people to him. That's tight. I can't help but think that deeply searching for a meta kills some of the fun of just playing, but I'm deeply non-competitive. Yeah, it just depends on what level of the spirit of competition that you have. So like, I think winning is fun. I feel very good when I win games. So I am motivated to figure out how to win more. And the way that you do that is by figuring out the meta. Some people just enjoy the game. Like, a good example, like I mentioned League of Legends earlier. When I play ranked, I'm like in super try hard mode. I'm trying to figure out how to win the game. I'm trying to play in the best way possible. But sometimes I just play not unranked matches and I get into, you know, a Discord call with my friends and we just fuck around and have fun and we don't really care if we win or lose. That's fun too. Don't get me wrong, that's fun. But personally, the competitive aspect is more fun to me. It can be really frustrating too, but the feeling of knowing that your practice and hard work pay off and seeing it pay off is very exhilarating for me. But it's also hard, so it can be really frustrating. Most competitive games eventually become very hard because people get so good at it that it requires a lot of work to keep up. Try hard elitist. I don't think I'm an elitist, but I'm definitely a try hard. Who are your favorite YouTubers? Well, that kind of changes over time. I always say that my top two are Vlogbrothers and ContraPoints. ContraPoints hasn't put out a video in a while, but I think she's working on one. I really like Captain Disillusion, another person that doesn't post very frequently. But beyond that, it just changes over time. Like, I've been watching a lot of Dr. Mike recently. I watch a lot of niche channels related to the things that I'm interested in. Like I've been talking about fighting games and League of Legends, and I watch a lot of channels that make content about that. What about JRPGs? I mean, I used to play a ton of those when I was a kid. Fucking Squaresoft. I recently had a conversation with my brother about, like, so I play D&D, and my brother wanted to make a character based off of Xenogears, specifically based off of the character Ceton. So there's a character in that game called Ceton who, like, halfway through the game, he gets a sword and he becomes awesome. And so we made a custom class in D&D based off that character in Xenogears. And Xenogears is like, it's like maybe in my top 10 favorite RPGs ever. Of course, there's Chrono Trigger, which is great. Earthbound is great. Super Mario RPG is kind of a underrated. People don't talk about it as much as they should, but it's an amazing game. Clean up some files in your PC and found the OG file for the intro. That was almost 10 years ago. Wow, that's amazing. Yeah, I remember that. That was, some people got mad when I stopped using it. It was a really good intro. Or did you make the other one? Okay, which one did you make? The one that I ended up using, or did you make the other one? I can't remember. They were both good. I remember they were both good. Have you run across Unlearning Economics? I don't think so. Is that a YouTube channel? It's interesting how people are often different in how they play games and how their IRL personality is. You seem more community minded. I guess so. I mean, I don't necessarily think that that contradicts being competitive. I think that sometimes people can be overly competitive to the extent that they are kind of like to the exclusion of other people, and they kind of like desire to see other people fail, but that's not really how I am. I just like to see myself succeed. But I, in games, I'm happy to like share ideas with people, give people advice, seek out advice. Because I think that being good at a game, the first thing that you have to do to be good at a game is to completely drop your ego and realize that you're trash at the game. Like, if you go into something thinking that you're hot shit, you probably won't improve. He gets a sword and becomes awesome. I mean, it's true. Because he starts off with hand-to-hand combat, which is already pretty cool, but then he gets a sword later, and it's like, oh shit, this dude's a beast. Am I aware of YouTuber Noah Caldwell Gervais? No, I am not. Should pot dealers pay taxes in illegal states? I mean, I feel like that's just a very complex question. I don't know that it, like, the problem is if you pay taxes, the government is going to want to know where your income comes from. So that's probably not like super smart thing to do. In general, I think people should pay taxes because we live in a society. But, that's just a complex situation. Do you also love Oddworld, or is it the case of the soundbite being too good to not use? I mean, I do love Oddworld. I haven't played all of the Oddworld games, but the original I played the shit out of. And I just think I think it's a genius game. It's like one of the coolest games ever made for sure. I've seen that competitive nature that gatekeeps people from playing certain roles or a certain way. Yeah, I mean there is that, but it just kind of depends on the situation. And I'm not sure exactly what you mean. Like in team games, I think sometimes your teammates can shit on you because you're not playing what's meta or whatever, and usually that doesn't matter. And I think like a true competitive player kind of understands what actually matters. Like for example, if you have a teammate that tells you like not to play the character that you're playing, that's whack, because you know in any well-made game usually most characters are viable, and maybe that person is good with that character. So it's, you know, I think that's just someone kind of being a dick about it. But then there's things like maybe you're playing against someone in a fighting game or something, and they're using a tactic that you think is like cheap or cheesy or something, and honestly that to me that's not legitimate. Like we're playing a game that's, you know, the point of the game is to win, and we're gonna do whatever it takes to win the game, you know, outside of like literally using hacks and stuff, which I think that's when it becomes unethical and shitty. You made the one that I used for a while. Okay, yeah, because there were two people that made one and yours won. I liked both of them, but it was good, and I used it for a long while. I would never do anything like that now though, because I realized later that basically I just got people to do free work for me, which I think is not cool. And I think most people kind of understand that you shouldn't like encourage people to do work for free. Unless they really want to, of course. But yeah, I don't think I would do that now. But that was cool at the time, and I definitely appreciate it, because that I don't think I could have made one myself that was as good. All right, Bugaton, thank you for checking out the stream. I'm probably gonna end the stream actually myself in about 5 minutes. How do you feel about ranked choice voting? Definitely would love to try it. I think it would be better than, you know, first past the post, as they say. Pay taxes for illegal activities. How would that even work? Technically, you're supposed to do that. There's actually it's actually written in law that that if you make money illegally, you're supposed to pay taxes on it. Obviously most people probably don't do that, but yeah, you can, I mean, because a lot of people don't have documents that what's the word I'm trying to say? A lot of people don't have documents that verify that they made a certain amount of money. Like maybe some people get paid in cash, some people make a lot of tips, for example, but you're still expected to pay taxes on that. The government is basically hoping for the honor system. Like, for example, a lot of people, like tips, for example, a lot of people make a lot of cash tips, and you're supposed to pay taxes on that. My guess is that the vast majority of people who make cash tips don't pay taxes on their cash tips. But legally you're supposed to. But yeah, it's basically an honor system thing. They're wanting you to tell them that you made the money and then pay taxes on it. Yeah, I think ranked choice is a good idea, because it allows people to actually vote for the person that they would actually like to win, rather than the person they think is most likely to win. Not paying taxes, how they got Capone in the end, for sure. Yeah. But to be fair, they had their eyes on him for a while, and they were just looking for anything that they can get him for. You pay taxes on your cash tips? Cool. I mean, honestly, don't begrudge people that decide not to, you know. But they'd like you to. I mean, these days, I mean, I'm not like rich or anything, but you know, I have like a solid middle class income at this point, and I'm not trying to get on the government shit list in any way. That's basically where I'm at right now. So I just try to follow the rules. All right, Bruno, thank you for checking out the stream. Thoughts on Biden presidency? In all honesty, I have not been following that closely. I kind of checked out from politics for a while, but I think that might be another thing that I do on stream is just kind of do an overview of Biden's presidency so far. So far, it seemed like it's been not as, you know, we haven't seen a lot of the bold changes that we would expect. And I know it's a lot, you know, it's complicated and things like that, but and we've also seen that he's still, and we knew that he was still going to be sort of the neoliberal kind of foreign policy wise, but you know, he's still got the aggressive foreign policy, which I think a lot of progressives kind of oppose, including myself. But you know, I'm still kind of waiting for, you know, we wanted like more aggressive kind of posturing in terms of getting this policy through, because sort of the Republicans have kind of been bullying the Democrats for decades at this point, and I don't think we've really seen it. But again, I haven't followed that closely, so I'm gonna look over it, and I'm probably during a stream I might like research it live on screen and have a discussion with everyone about it. All right. Thanks for checking out the stream, JNB. The fact that you can check out on politics is a step in the right direction compared to Trump. I agree with that. But I probably shouldn't be so checked out. George, honestly, I haven't been watching. Like I said, I checked out of politics, and that kind of includes political YouTube. I haven't been watching too much political YouTube. Every now and then I'll check out something if it just really catches my eye, but you know, we're watching a lot of like gaming related stuff, media, like movie reviews and things like that. Is knowing better left leaning? I thought he was more, I mean, I guess he is, yeah. I was thinking like maybe he's more like center, moderate. I will say, like, people ask me a lot if there are any conservative or right-leaning YouTubers that I like, or content creators that I like, and I always thought that was kind of weird because, you know, part of my whole ideology is kind of that conservative ideas are bad and wrong. But I've realized that I enjoy JJ McCullough, which he considers himself a conservative, at least. I find a lot of his and his videos are not like super political. Maybe if they were, I would be less into it, but he seems very like intelligent and measured from my perspective. Anyway, I'm gonna go ahead and end the stream. It's been like 2 hours, a little over 2 hours, two and a half hours or so. Thanks everyone for checking out the stream. I do have a video coming out very soon. I think it's gonna come out next week, next Friday, I believe. So look out for that. I'm gonna try to stream again on Monday, probably. We'll see though. I'm very bad about keeping up with my stream schedule, but best way to keep up with that is obviously to click the notification bell. It should tell you whenever I go live. It should. I don't know if it does every time. If you like this kind of chill conversation stuff like this, consider joining the Discord. It's a very chill and friendly community where you can talk about all manner of topics. Just go to theonejanitor.com/discord, or you can just hit exclamation or type ! Discord in the next like 30 seconds before the chat closes to get a link. Yeah, that's about it. Look out for the new video and look out for the next stream. And I will see you all next time. Bye-bye.